So with this whole mid-season patch thing going on, it got a lot of people talking. Ever since Season 11, items have been changed, reworked, removed, re-added, retooled, basically every patch. I mean, look at Abyssal Mask. How much does it cost? What does it do? Nobody knows. It changes more often than a Genshin player changes waifus. Bruisers got their items tweaked so much that they often go from being so busted that you think, how the hell did this get past testing? To so useless that you think to yourself, how the hell did this get past testing? ADC items got some nice changes recently, but all of that was for nothing, because now they're getting overhauled massively. Again! I mean, look at this! It's one patch with all this coming, and then you scroll over to tank items and... Lamau. And then we get to mages. I could go on a 30-minute rant on why mage items suck to build, but it's been talked to death already. Nobody likes to build the exact same statistic items every single game. Mage players truly have no human rights. However, they're the class that probably feels the Season 11 item rework the hardest, because they're the ones whose build variety got the most gutted. Ever since then, there's been this idea that mythic items as a concept were a mistake in the first place. The initial idea of mythics was to make it so that each one would introduce a unique playstyle for the class they would be built on. If you're an ADC, for example, you'd build Shield Bow to survive burst and be in the thick of the fight without dying immediately. Gale Force would be the burst item against other squishies and would be meant for finishing people off and giving mobility that the class usually lacks. And then Kraken Slayer would be the item for, well, slaying Krakens. The problem is, although it introduces lots of interesting ideas, it also ends up limiting build variety, since most champions can only opt into one or maybe two mythics, with the rest being either off-meta or a complete meme on them. Let's pick Jhin as an example. Right now, in patch 13.9, you build Gale Force into Infinity Edge, and then it's all situational. You could make a case for LDR, Collector, Bloodthirster, even the dreaded RFC can still be a good choice. And with 13.10 making Infinity Edge a mythic, you have to choose between the mobility and finishing potential or the raw damage, forcing at least an interesting choice. However, if you play a pasty, nerdy control mage, you get Ludens, Sockshoes, Shadowflame, Zhonya's, Deathcap, and Void. Every single game the same items, and you can maybe choose the order you build them in. And look at these items, the same three that are basically mandatory on every mage that can't effectively go Rod of Ages. Do you notice anything in common with these? They have no interesting properties. With ADCs, you have items that increase your auto range. They give an overheal shield, a slow, ramping attack speed and movement speed, an execute that's just actually placebo to release dopamine in your brain. But with these mage items, all you have is just boring damage. Shadowflame is just flat penetration, AP with a pair of Sockshoes slapped on top of it. It's not even an anti-shield item like advertised when it came out. Deathcap is just raw AP with literally nothing else going for it. And Void Staff is just another pure damage item that you build when the enemy goes Force of Nature or more so you can tickle them a little less politely. Just so we're clear, mage items are not weak by any stretch of the imagination, but from a design perspective, they're just boring, uninspired statistics. With any physical damage champion, you have a separation between the AD Bruiser items, the other AD Bruiser items, the AD Assassin items, the Marksman items, the other Marksman items, the other Marksman items. You get the point. With AP, you have mythics, and then it's all kind of a pool of slop that everyone shares, with the exception of Demonic Embrace solely because it separates its passive between melee and ranged champions. You know, like AD items usually do. So how would reverting mythics change any of this? First off, some champions don't really have much synergy with any mythic. Prime examples are Irelia, Ezreal, and right now, Azir. These champions do use mythic items because the stats and passives are just too good not to build. But the items that really define their builds and playstyles are legendaries. Irelia always rushes Blade of the Rune King for a reason. Ezreal goes for Essence Reaver and takes his goddamn time before finishing a mythic item. Well, Azir is now building Nash's as a core item before his mythic a lot of the time. And then there's this thing just screeching in the corner. There would be also more room to make more playstyle changing items that aren't mutually exclusive. For example, right now, you can build Rocket Belt on Galio, but then you forego the extra CC lock from Everfrost, or the burst from Night Harvester. If you could combine them, then you could have more interesting options than just going Zhonya's second every single game. At this point, making mythics not mutually exclusive would absolutely turn the game upside down, but there are ways to make it not too chaotic. For example, having mutually exclusive items according to their passives, like how right now you can't build Maw and Sterak's at the same time. Items that give dashes could also be mutually exclusive, so you can build Gale Force and Duskblade if you want, but not Gale Force and Prowler's Claw, for example. Actually, they are taking away Prowler's Dash, but you get the idea. Personally, I never experienced the game before Mythics, so I can't really say how fun the game was before, but even I can tell that right now, Build variety is a point of contention on a lot of champions, particularly AP in general, and AD assassins who have to build bruiser items due to the lack of options. What do you think about it though? Did you play before Season 11, and how did you like the items before compared to now? Let me know in the comments. That's all for me now. Cheers.